Oh, I'll teach you how to comment stuff out. So in programming, say you don't want to delete this line, and you want to keep it, maybe look back on it for whatever reason, or you want to mark up your code, because marking up your code is super important, not only for the readability of other people who are going to be looking at your code, but also for your own sanity when you look at your code in a year and you have no idea what you've written. So always mark up your code. But in Python, to mark up your code is just a hashtag symbol. So for a single line comment, you just put the hashtag symbol, and then you can write whatever you want to your heart's content. Um, and that's just basic. It's a comment. It's not going to be run by the Python compiler. If you want to comment something you've already written, just put a pi symbol. That'll comment that out. So the compiler is just not going to look at it. Obviously, we're going to have a problem because there's no A anymore. But and if you want to comment entire like chunks of code, what you would do is just three single quotes around your code. So three single quotes in the beginning and three single quotes at the end. And you can do double quotes too. They both work. And now the compiler is just not going to look at that, and we can move on. So let me check actually what we need to do, because I want to make sure we get everything. All right. All right, cool. So why don't we do a if statement? You guys know what if statements are? Hopefully. Maybe not. It's okay if you don't know. But in programming, a lot of times you're going to be checking if obviously, if a value is some value. Say, I wake up in the morning and if it's sunny outside, I'm going to put on sunglasses. Or if the temperature is beneath 50 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to put on a coat. So it's really useful to check if something is a certain value. Yeah, Liam, did you raise your hand? No. But it's super useful to check if something's a certain value. And in Python, it's really simple to write these if statements. So we'll get rid of this stuff, and we'll just set a value. Oh, one more thing. There's another value. There's another variable type. It's called a Boolean, and a Boolean has two values. It's either true or false. It's like a 1 or a 0, right? True or false, and then those are the only two values it could possibly be. It can't be some crazy in between true and false, some third value. Alright, it's just true or false. And to assign a Boolean value, you would just do bool whatever you want gets true with a capital U, a capital T, sorry. And that would be a Boolean. And for an if statement, you can write if bool, and then the structure of an if statement in Python is a colon, and then it should automatically bump you to the next line. So in Python, you don't have curly braces. You just don't have curly braces. So the way to format your code to make sure that the compiler understands if it's inside the if statement, if it's inside the for loop, if it's inside the function, is to have an indent. So as you can see, it automatically indents for you. So now you know you're inside the body of the if statement. Does that make sense? So inside the body, we can print something like bool is true, right? And obviously this if statement is checking if whatever is here, basically whatever it's testing, is true. So this could be true, like Boolean is true, and if true, obviously it's going to print, it's going to go inside and it's going to print bool is true. It's going to print the string out. But you can have obviously different variables. You can have variables like x gets 5, and you can check if x equals 5. So in this case, you can tell it's different from the gets operator. This is there are two equals signs together, and this is like the equals that you know from math, right? You're just comparing if x, or if x, which is assigned to 5, so in this case this would be 5, equals 5, or equals 5. So does x equal 5, or does 5 equal 5? Obviously yes. So you could print whatever you want. It would go into the if statement. And obviously if we set this to 6, 5 does not equal 6, so it's never going to enter, nothing's going to print out. Yeah, and I'll quickly run through them. So here we go. There's x equals, there's less than. So in this case, it would go greater than. In this case, it wouldn't, because 5 is not greater than 6. Greater than, equal to, which is you make sure you get the ordering correct, or it's not going to work. When you say the words greater than or equal to, it's just the order of that. So that's a simple way to remember: greater than or equal to. So first the greater than sign, then the equal sign. If x is greater than or equal to 6, which is not, doesn't print, you can do less than or equal to also. So you have all of your like algebraic comparisons here, right? One other one is not equal to. One sec. Yeah. So not is a exclamation mark. Let me just check. Yeah, I think we're fine. Okay. A not is an exclamation mark. And you put that in front of equals, and it's just a single equal sign, and it checks if 5 is not equal to 6, which 5 is not equal to 6, because the only thing equal to 6 is 6, obviously. So it's going to print out x equals true. So those are your operators, or your comparisons that you're going to have. So if we go down the list, it's equals, not equals, less than, greater than, or less than or equal to, and then greater than or equal to, right? So those are what, like 6 of them? And that's how you can compare values. And you can either write, like, you can set y equal to 7, right? And then you can compare x to y. So you can start seeing how with these operators we can start doing more complex tasks. We can actually ask the computer to do some like very, very basic calculations to check if something is true or not. And then with that we can start building and building and building. So these are just the basics of Python, basics of programming, like in general, I guess, because Python's super easy for to learn programming, and it's like really readable. So that is an if statement. Now what happens if the if statement is run but it doesn't execute? Like, what happens if this is false, right? So let's just set this to false. False, capital F. So if bool, which in the case is false, this would evaluate to, this would not go through, it would not get into the body of the if statement, right? Because it's false, so it's just not going to go in. You have something called else. So in this case, what happens is this else statement only runs if the if is false. Does that make sense? So we can look, x is, all right, run that. So in this case, bool is false, or I guess this would be bool, but this is false, so it doesn't go into here. It doesn't print x as true. It goes into the else, which checks if x, just automatically, if this is false, it goes into the bool. If this is true, it doesn't run the else, right? It doesn't even check it. I mean, it doesn't even get to that point. It just ends here. X is true. That's your result. Does that make sense to everyone? And like I said, for when you have these like checking if, else, and then there's a thing called else if, which we can get to. It's a lot like an else and also an if. It's an else and if combined, obviously. You have these colons, and that's how you indicate that you are moving into the body. Does that make sense for everyone?